Chapter 41. The portal from which he'd risen dissipated in a splash of black motes. Wizen the Cruel's high black boots lowered to the grass. When he stepped toward me, I turned to the side. The embers in his helmet dimmed to reveal black irises with little sclera to surround them. All the muscles in my body tensed as my detection of his shadow power engulfed my entire body at once. That he passed me, then walked over to stare down at Harbin, certain, I corrected myself, didn't provide any comfort. His voice came in a low grumble with a strange timbre that gave the impression two beings spoke.
"A foolhardy boy."
He shoved his boot against Shurton's ribs.
"I find his thirst for revenge tiresome."
I stepped backward. Wizen lifted a gloved hand.
"Stay. If I wanted to harm you, you'd be dead."
I froze, then peeled my gaze away to peer down at my betrayer. Is he dead? Wizen shook his head. Although he stood in the shadow of a balcony above, his helmet shimmered with the motion as if the sun reflected off it.
"He's of little use to me dead, but it's not a lesson he'll soon forget. You humans, always so brazen, brave to a fault."
And what are you? Those black eyes fell on me, and I shivered despite the warm sensation.
"Why, Contessa, I'm your new master."
A low grumble I presumed was laughter welled up from his belly.
"But, if you must know, I'm a Terran."
He tugged off his helmet. Short horns sprouted from either side of his head, centered above his eyes. His bald scalp was maroon except for a black stripe splitting its center and running down the bridge of his nose to its tip. Although my father regaled me with endless tales regarding the histories of Rubalian races, I'd never heard of Terrans. Wizen must have read some sign of confusion in my features. I lied.
"There aren't many of us. We fought a 50-year war against the human tribesmen of the North long ago. Although they held superior numbers, our magic line was much stronger, but eventually, poor planning and the lackluster tactics of an inadequate leadership cost us the war, and the brutes almost wiped us out."
How sad for you.
"It was long before my time, Contessa of Milbury. Your pity is weakness, and it doesn't serve you. Submit to me, allow me to bind you, and we will set aside such trivial encumbrances."
Here stood the bastard I'd mistaken for a demon, who'd killed my father in my own sight, and now he wanted me to bind myself to him? "I will bind to you when my last breath has left me and I rot in the underworld, murdering bastard."
"That could be arranged. Again, your emotions betray you. Tell me, Contessa, how have the humans treated you so far? Has that bitch Lyra welcomed you to her bosom, promised to foster your powerful magic potential to its fullest?"
Again I lied. "She's done just fine by me."
"That's not what I've heard."
Wizen the Cruel kicked Shurton with the side of his boot. Shurton grunted.
"Boy, dispense with the pretense you're unconscious. Get to your feet."
Shurton's eyes fluttered open. He pressed his palms to the stone surface, then pushed himself up. One hand cradled his ribs.
"Better. Now renew your glamour and return to your business."
Shurton could disguise himself if he liked, but I'd already informed my uncle about his treachery, and I took solace in knowing he would be apprehended.
"Yes, master."
The acolyte shot me a hateful glare that didn't diminish as he transformed into Harbin. He limped along the building toward the south, peeked around the corner, then vanished. My own hateful expression burned into his back until he was gone. Then I turned it on Wizen. "How is it a mortal commands demons?"
"Precocious to the end."
He waved a dismissive hand, then shoved a finger toward the soil beneath my feet.
"Submit to bonding and I will teach you all you need to know."
"By the goddess's blessing, I'm already spoken for."
"What?"
Wizen winked his eyes in succession.
"Bound to Drossenwelling."
He curled his finger to complete a fist.
"So be it."
He moved toward the edge of the stone, closer. The heat in me swelled.
"He will not willingly let you go. You must convince him."
"You murdered my father and destroyed my home. Why in this world would I go with you?" His obsidian armor clattered with his slight shrug.
"To realize your full potential."
He swept his hand around him.
"To share in our love of the Source. Do you think these people, this place, will serve you, Contessa?
I would have corrected him on the usage of my name, but I didn't want to hear it on his foul lips. My master will serve me. He is not only a powerful magician, but he shares my own blood. Never will I unbind from him in favor of a demonic killer.
As you said, I'm no demon.
I winked my eyes in succession, but he swept a hand across my eyes and my interface appeared blank, revealing only his name and a message indicating I couldn't read his attributes.
You will know only what I want you to know, and only when I want you to know it.
He turned to face west.
If Drossenwelling binds you, I will have to break the bond.
No, I blurted. You will not touch him. Fire flowed through my veins from my feet, then up my legs. My hands glowed as I raised them, then I squinted in the evil one's direction. I would sooner die than... A wall of power slammed into me, raised me from the ground, then flung me backward. I flew through the air until my backside slammed to the hard-packed soil. I rolled before thumping face down. Wisen the Cruel casts Wind Fury. You are stunned. Effect: -30 damage to all magic attacks. A shadow fell over me, but I was too focused on recouping the wind that had been blown from the impact.
When I have tucked you safely away, I will return to deal with your master.
A new voice filled the air.
Why not deal with me now, demon spawn?
My head swung around as the breath returned to my lungs. Drossenwelling's black robe fluttered in the breeze, and the sun set against his front-shadowed features. Magister Lyra sped around the corner of the building. A twisted black wand whose tip sparked with purple energy was clutched in her trembling hand. Then the blonde elven woman I'd encountered in the reception area appeared, with Destiny Share bringing up the rear. I shot a sadistic smile at the Terran. He threw his hands skyward. A new horizontal portal appeared beneath him.
Another time.
His boots rose from the ground, then the portal slid under him. Before he could disappear like he'd done after our fight in the exercise field, a burst of multi-fingered electrical energy zipped through the air, then slammed into him. Wisen the Cruel whipped backward, threw out his arms, steadying in midair. Priya Sky charged forward. You won't escape us, Terran. I know of your kind, and I will not rest until the last of you are cleansed from Enora. Although Wisen made no gestures, a circle of fire swirled around his feet, then up the length of his body until he was surrounded. Priya fired again, but the fire absorbed the lightning so it never reached the evil caster. The portal slid beneath him, then Wisen the Cruel slid slowly down until half his body disappeared. Drossen swept his hands from his chest to the right, then pushed a wave of red energy toward the demon. The fire dissipated. Wisen the Cruel's helmet tumbled to the ground. His eyes ignited, then he zipped down and out of sight.
Another time, Contessa of Milbury. Soon.
I snarled. Damn it! Motion from my left brought my head around as the High Chancellor's red-haired caster and her band of plate-clad soldiers appeared. She raised one hand. There! Grab her! Destiny Share whipped her sword from her back, then charged forward to block my view of the newcomers. Will we complete the exercise this time, Shaughnessy? The mage hoisted one hand high over her shoulder, then wiggled her fingers in a beckoning gesture. A flood of armed men, armored to the teeth, swept around the corner and into sight. My first guess was there must have been 20. Bringing up the rear was a figure wearing a forest green robe. His bald head was topped only by a few twirling gray curls. Those men wear the king's sigil, Lyra said. Yes, Tralsby has pledged to sign a pact with His Majesty this very day. Lyra shook her head in derision. Will the High Chancellor stop at nothing to satiate his yearning for death? You should have let us try the girl in our city. She killed one of our citizens. No, Lyra said, casting her gaze in my direction. She didn't. The culprit was another student, and mistrusting Tess was my mistake. So, come if you must, but we will defend our own. A welcome invitation, Shaughnessy replied. I accept. Your academy dies today. Drossenwelling sped to my side and pulled me behind Destiny. He swept his hands out, then a casting bar filled. The soldiers charged. Destiny zipped forward in a blur. Her shoulder slammed into a man's chest and sent him sprawling. She whipped a second sword from her belt as she twisted just in time to dodge an incoming blow from a studded mace. Shards of ice fell from the sky, and the incoming forces slowed. Priya-Sky's hands whipped overhead, and a casting bar slowly emptied instead of filling. A bolt of energy flew from Lyra's wand to one of the soldiers' faces. He convulsed and tumbled to his death. A light show ensued as Drasen completed his cast.
A new bind point.
A portal appeared.
Go now, Tess. If they would risk a local war, the Chancellor doesn't care about truth. Go far from here and don't look back. I will find you.
I squeezed Drasen's hand. Live, Uncle. He nodded, then shoved me through the portal. The first time I'd been in the Warsager's study, it'd been warm, almost welcoming despite my being locked in. But now its dank air caused my nostrils to crinkle up and a chill to wash over me. It was especially noticeable where the wolf had torn a hole in my robe. A couple inches higher and I would have spent the day running around campus with my butt exposed for all to see. Ah, the little blessings. I hurried to the door, expecting it would be locked, but it swung open on its creaky hinges. After stepping into the hallway, I peered back over one shoulder, wondering when Drasen had found time to come here and bind himself to the place. Time was of the essence, so I rushed up the tunnel past the ladder leading up to the chapel. My sandals stuck in some muck in the narrow channel, so I ended up with a blackened foot. When I reached the door leading out, I checked for snakes before stepping into the high grass. Then I raised my hands, focused on a spell in my interface, and brought my fire summon back to life. Monteleana burst forth from her portal, flew 50 feet forward, then turned.
All clear, milady, to the cave?
It's like you read my mind.
I did read your mind in a way.
That's comforting. The little fire minion shrugged one shoulder in what might have been an adorable gesture, if not for the way my chest vibrated with fear that a plate-clad soldier or superior caster might pop up behind me at any moment. At least the lingering chill from the study had passed, and the goddess's star blanketed my face in warmth against a cold breeze that bent the high blades. You have been sent a private chat request from Shurton. Accept? I did. Private chat. Shurton. Private.
I should have known you'd be the ruin of me.
Contessa of Milbury. Private. Give me time. Perhaps I will. Shurton. Private.
Perhaps you'll have your opportunity to make good on this idle threat sooner than you think. I have your Michonne friend. If you'd like to see her breathing, you will come south of Warrington and reach out for further instructions. Bring my tome.
Contessa of Milbury. Private. You lie. When he didn't respond, I brought up my chat tab and selected another party to which I'd been connected since Shabana and I reconciled. Contessa of Milbury. Private. Shabana? No reply. Private chat. Shurton. Private.
If you're trying to reach your friend, I've disabled her. Go south of town. There is a tree you'll find quite interesting there. It stands alone in the center of a field of low grass. I'll stay in range so you can use private chat.
Contessa of Milbury. Private. Why not just invite me to a party chat? Shurton. Private.
You really are a rube. Party chat would show my location on your map, and before you get tricky, your party with Shabana will disband when she's out of range. Bring the tome and I'll let you keep any scrolls you've hidden away.
Contessa of Milbury. Private. And how do I know you won't kill me? Shurton. Private.
As attractive a prospect as that is, Wyzen doesn't want you dead. But test me, and before sunrise tomorrow, Shabana will be buried where she'll never be found.
My map popped up with a thought, then I scanned for Shabana's locator. When I zoomed out, I spied it south of town. I didn't know the range limitations, but I would have to move fast to keep her where I could see her. But then the locator winked out of existence as if Shurton knew exactly how far away I was. I didn't know if that was possible, but he just rendered it moot. There was no way for me to keep pace with him in the open. I'd have to backtrack through the tunnels, climb to the chapel, and risk being exposed by those pursuing me. Going around town would take exponentially longer. Private chat. Shurton. Private.
The games are over, Tess. See you in an hour.
Monteleana hovered at eye level, gazing at me with a twisted look of concern on her fiery features.
Command me, and your enemies shall perish.
Can you read my chat as well?
I sense your emotions.
We reached the cave without incident, although I'd planned to flee and let Brunk be my guide since he'd fled to this region and might be able to reverse his route far enough for us to reach safety. Shurton foiled my plans. When I recalled the way Wyzen the Cruel blew him away before my eyes, I believed he wouldn't risk killing me. The Terran might make short work of him, as he seemed to really want me at his side. In his best dreams. Inside the cave, Brunk was sitting on the larger of the two stones and using a simple rock to sharpen a pointed stick. His head jerked around, then he practically jumped to his feet.
Tess!
He slapped one hand to his chest between his massive pecs, then bowed his head. It's good to see you too, but Shabana is in trouble. She has been taken and I can't track her. I set my own hand over my thumping chest. Would you help me?
Track?
He cocked one bushy eyebrow.
Find?
He twirled one finger around his temple. I didn't take the time to note it in my interface. I nodded. Yes, I want to track her, like I used to track game in the woods near my farm. Brunk scratched his chin. One hand whipped to the side as he pointed to the smaller stone.
Magic track Shabana?
I almost slapped myself in the forehead with the heel of my palm. Although the magic might be a bit too advanced for me, it couldn't hurt to try. If there was ever a time to put my potential to the test, this was it. I scurried over to the stone, clawed my fingernails into the dirt to rip it away, then retrieved the tome from beneath the remaining scrolls. Acolyte Shurton. In these pages you will find an introductory treatment of the scrying art. My notes are in the margins. Unlike the other texts, this was not retrieved from the Plague Barons. Its roots are in shadow magic, like many of the other tomes. I encourage you to study this intently. Worsager Jakar. I flipped through the pages, read the instructions 4 times for good measure, then copied them into the Notes tab. Reading line by line proved successful. It worked this time either because I increased my rune crafting skill or because I read and saved line by line instead of trying to copy the whole tome. I stood stiff as a board, set my thumb in the crease between pages to hold the tome open, then chanted. Nustra Ramani Nataru. Shadow chain ignited. Speak the words of the spell you wish to activate. Moyala Veruskin Troampa Visante. Nothing happened, not so much as a tingle. I tried again. Moyala Veruskin Troampa Visante. Nothing. Damn it! I stomped my foot. Damn it, damn it, damn it! Despite his hulking size, Brunk jerked at my excitations. I frowned, drew a deep breath slowly into my lungs, then made the tiniest little circle with my lips so it could drift out. I read the elven words carefully while moving my lips so that I could memorize them, then set the tome on the stone. Shadow chain expired. I repeated the ignition spell. Nustra Ramani Nataru. Shadow chain ignited. Speak the words of the spell you wish to activate. This time, I pressed my elbows into my sides with my palms facing up, drew another deep breath, then spoke clearly. Moyala Veruskin Troampa Visante. A wave of heat rushed from the soft flesh on the bottom of my feet around my heel and past my ankle. It surged up my calves and across my knees before flooding into my upper body. My map appeared despite my eyes being closed, and I focused there as I repeated the words. The heat intensified as I drew energy from the lava lines deep in the ground beneath me. A hot pressure formed in my chest. Then the pace of my heart's pounding doubled. I struggled as I took in the subsequent breath, but I forced calm into the words. Moyala Veruskin Troampa Visante. A red indicator blinked on my map. With a simple thought, I marked that spot with an X. I continued to chant the words, over and over. And although the heat bursting through me neared suffocating, I twisted my feet to solidify my stoic stance as the words flowed more naturally from my lips with repetition. The indicator blinked again, this time to the south and just west of its previous location. I dropped another X, pressed my lips together, then stopped chanting lest the heat overcome me. After allowing it to dissipate, although it receded little, I chanted the words one more time. When I added the newest X, I used my thoughts to draw a line between the 3 marks that I'd made. I zoomed in on the map, and although most of the terrain was covered in a blanket of gray, the flags indicating landmarks remained. They pointed toward a lone flag just on the edge of the Great Iron Mountain, stretching from far in the south near a town called Brumhill, all the way north, then west past Trowsby. King's Mountain Outpost Number 4. Contessa of Milbury, party. Are you there? Drassen Welling, party.
Yes. Lyra fell, but we were victorious, and the High Chancellor's men and women have fled. I see you are in the same place as before. I was hoping you would go further, but they have jumped into a portal back to Trowsby. You should be safe for now.
Contessa of Milbury, party. I'm sorry to hear about Lyra. Dross and Welling, party.
It's okay. Roshan resurrected her.
Contessa of Milbury, party. That bastard Shurton has kidnapped Shabana. He wants me to bring the tome to him, and I'm to go south to await further instruction. I think I know where he's going, but I don't dare go alone. Dross and Welling, party.
He would want it since his master is coming from afar, and I wouldn't put it past him to kill her. If he went to such lengths to disguise himself, and if he truly serves the Warsager, his evil is not to be underestimated. Walk around to the east gate. You can go south along the inner wall, then slip into the alley before the southern wall to come out by Luli's. Stock up on some food for buffs, and I will send what aid I can muster.
Contessa of Milbury, party. Thank you, uncle. I am forever in your debt. Dross and Welling, party.
Having family in my life again has awoken the spirit of a man who feared he might never find it. The debt owed is mine. Now go.
I closed the party chat, looked up at Brunk, then gave a single nod. I think I will have help. I don't want you to come to harm, but I will visit soon. Brunk's eyebrows knitted together and his forehead creased like rivers running across his flesh. Reaching into his pack, he withdrew a long spear with a silvery tip that came to a 5-point. Grooves ran in waves the length of its shaft.
Brunk fight. Brunk help Shabana. No talk. Fight.
He pounded his chest twice, and although the gesture could have been mistaken for an answer in the affirmative, I knew better. I made a mental note that when he used the side of his fist, it meant something different. And from the tight expression on his face, I knew he meant it.